What's up, world renowned family? Neil Oates Jr. here. I am excited because I have the money, the market stats here in front of me for the second quarter of 2021. Now, right off the bat, I want to bring to your attention you're going to hear a lot about these Q2 stats. You're going to hear a lot about it, especially compared to year over year, which means they're going to be talking about or comparing quarter two of 2021 to quarter two of 2020. Take everything I'm going to say right now with the comparison year over year with a grain of salt. We know that Q2 of 2020 was unlike anything we've ever seen in the local real estate market. Even is unlike anything we had seen in 2007, 2008, 2009, because we did not see a market or a financial crisis. We saw a health crisis in Q2 of 2020. So you're going to hear a lot of things in the media outside of our time here where they're talking about, hey, we saw a 142% increase year over year. It's the biggest thing that bravo, congratulations. We got it. We understand year over year. But what about compared to maybe 2019? How do those numbers look? So that's why I want you to know what to look for, where to get the most relevant, accurate information, and where to get it with some, insight as to what we're looking at. Not year over year, but relevant compared to relevant information. So here we go. We're going to dive into the Q2 stats for Broward County single family homes. Then we're going to look at some, city specific, and then maybe even, no, definitely some zip codes. So let's look and see how Broward County single family homes did for the second quarter of 2021. The important numbers for us to look at are the number of real buyers, closed transactions, trades. You know the way that we talk here as family. We saw 5,219 real buyers come to market. Of those, 1,242 real buyers were cash buyers. And we like that product so much, we're going to come out of pocket and part with our hard-earned cash. So of the 5,219, 1,242 were cash buyers. Median list price to sales price ratio was 100%, and that's the original list price. So sellers are being realistic with what they're asking in line with what the market is willing to pay. So they might be unrealistic, but by seeing a 100% list price or original list price to sales price ratio shows us that buyers are willing to come in and pay the amount. So who are we to argue? Median days on market, 13 days. Now, when we say days on market, we're talking time to contract. So the time that it goes on market to the time that it is executed to someone puts a contract on it, 13 days. Now, the number of new listings. Now, this is where I want us to start paying attention. Number of new listings, 6,156. 6,156. So inventory is coming on the market. Our challenge is that it's so affordable to borrow money that people want to purchase. So those 6,156, they're just disappearing really, really quickly with that 13 median days on the market. And so therefore, we're looking at a month supply of inventory of 1.4 months of inventory. So let's get to these price band numbers. We're going to be looking at different price bands. I'm always looking at everything, that money part right there, the 300 to 400K minus a buck or a cent, however you want to look at it. That has typically been our strong market. That's where we've seen just traditionally and historically the most activity. It did change a little bit in Q2 because owners, sellers are saying, let's increase our asking price, knowing that if we're getting 100% median list price to sales price on these properties. Now, what was a 380 property, now it might be a 400 property, or might be a 405, 410 property. And that's boosting those numbers there. So we saw an increase in every price band for the number of real buyers over including the 300,000 plus price band. So we saw everything from 300 to 400K minus above, 1,143 real buyers. 400 to 600K, 1720 real buyers. And let's just jump to the million plus in Q2. We saw 637 real buyers come to market and saying, yes, we want to purchase a property. The median time to contract, all above the 300K price band, 12 days, 10 days, 11 days. And for the million plus market, there was only 36-day market stay for those realistically reasonably priced products. Now, here's where I want to draw some of your attention, and that is going to be to the new listings. I know you're probably hearing, I'm hearing inventory. We're having an inventory shortage. People aren't putting their properties on the market. Yes, they are. It's just that the good properties are selling, and our new listings numbers for Q2 actually reflect that. So let's look at the 300 to 400K price band. We saw 1,362 new single family home offerings come onto the market. For the 400 to 600K price band, 2021, that's a good number, right? 2,021 new offerings became available. And then for the 600 to million minus above, we saw 1,339. And drum roll, for the million plus price band, we saw 766 new offerings come available in Broward County for the single family home. So I don't know what you've heard, but the truth is sellers are putting their homes on the market. They're putting them on at a little higher clip than they usually would. But we see from the median list price to sales price ratio that buyers are willing to pay it. And some of those are even willing to pay cash. So let's look at a few cities in Broward County and see who fared the best in a few areas. So first, let's look at the number of real buyers, closed sales, transactions, or trades that took place in Q2. The number one city was Fort Lauderdale with 729 real buyers. There were 284 of those real buyers paid all cash at a median sales price of $637,500. Not bad, Fort Lauderdale. A round of applause for you. Number two came in with 460 real buyers. Anyone want to guess what city that was? I'm listening. It was Hollywood, Florida. 460 real buyers came to market. 139 of those buyers paid cash with a median sales price of $405,000. And number three on the list with 410 transactions or real buyers was Coral Springs and a median sales price of $510,000. 48 of those buyers purchased using cash. So what about dollar volume? So we hear about Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Coral Springs, that the number of transactions and the median sales prices. Well, which cities sold the most real estate? Now, there are going to be some of, I'm telling you right now, this first one that I'm going to hit you with, it is going to be earth and mind shattering when you hear this number. Number one, of course, was Fort Lauderdale with $931.8 million in sales volume. And that was a 97.6%, 97.5%, my apologies, list price to sales price ratio. So we had 931.8 million, almost $1 billion in Q2 of single family homes sold in the city of Fort Lauderdale with a median days on market of only 24 days. Number two was going to be Weston. Now, Weston was not on our top three list for the number of transactions, but for the sales volume, it was number two with $264.3 million with a 10-day market stay. Number three, Hollywood, $242.4 million, 17 median days on market. And then number four, we're going to look at Parkland, which clocked $237.1 million with only 9 days on market. Of course, now we have to look at the pending activity, the contract signings, because this is going to let us know what happens in Q3 when those numbers come out. So we can't only look behind us and see what the sales activity was. We want to know what buyers are doing right now. What did they say as far as going under contract? So number one, Fort Lauderdale, 716 contracts signed in Q2. Hollywood was number two with 481, and then Coral Springs with 460 contracts signed. So let's look at some zip code data right now. If you're like me, if you're a nerd, you love the zip code data, you want it drilled down as much as possible. Now, I do want to offer some warnings here with, or should I say some caution with this zip code data. We know that we never want to be guilty of steering or redlining. So zip codes always, especially here recently, a touchy subject for those. But we want to give the data so that, Florida Realtors, NAR makes it available to us. We want to make it available to you, but make sure that you use this information and this data properly, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So let's look at the zip code that had the most activity. We looked at the cities, but we know cities can have a number of zip codes, based on the post of what you call it, Hollywood versus Fort Lauderdale versus Pembroke Pines, for example. So let's look at the zip code that had the most closed sale. Number one was zip code 076. Now, understand, if you're local, everything starts with the 33. So we're just reading out the last three of the 5-digit zip code. If you're one of our out of area or out of country partners or colleagues, prospects, clients, customers, just know that it's 33, and then we're talking about those last three zip codes. So number one was zip code 076. So 33076, 264 closed transactions, real buyers with a median sales price of $750,000. Not bad, very impressive. Number two was Hollywood with the zip code 024, 203 real buyers, median sales price of $365,000. And then zip code 064, 191 real buyers and a median sales price of $360,000. So now dollar volume, zip code really quickly is 301. That's number one with 229.5 million. Number two is zip code 076 with 226.7 million. And then Fort Lauderdale's 308 zip code with $187.9 million. The last number that we're going to look at is months of inventory. Now we're going to look at the areas that have the highest months of inventory in case you're one of those buyers who's like, I don't want to deal with the multiple offers. Or if you're a seller here, you might have to make some adjustments, be more realistic, and understand you might not get as many offers on your property. So the zip code with the highest months of inventory, and these are the only three zip codes in Broward County that have more than 3 months of inventory or ended Q2 with more than 3 months of inventory. The highest inventory amount is going to be zip code 316, which has a 3.7 months of inventory. Now, understand, the zip code 316, the median sales price is above 1.1 million. So understand what we're looking at, and these are for single family. If you look in 316, when it comes to condos, you'll hear a very radically different story. So number one, most inventory with 3.7 months of inventory is going to be zip code 316. Number two is going to be Hollandale, zip code 009 with 3.5 months of inventory. And then coming in at number three with 3.2 months of inventory is going to be zip code 004. So whether you're buying or selling in those zip codes, if you're a buyer, you could have a great opportunity maybe to get a better deal in these areas. Or if because in zip code 004009, we're looking at the $400,000 price band for those single family homes. So instead of looking in maybe a hotter zip code, maybe instead of looking in 324, you might go over to 009 or 004, depending on your lifestyle. That might be something that would benefit you as a buyer. Sellers in those three zip codes, no, you might have a longer market stay, or you might not get that median 100% list price to sales price ratio. So I hope that you found this information valuable, useful. I know that it's accurate because it comes from Florida Realtors. Be sure that let me know if you have any areas, any questions, condos, townhomes, single family homes, land, commercial, whatever it is. If you need information, I'm the guy to get it to you. And remember that in any time in this market, if you hear something, ask us. We'll be glad to get that information over to you. So remember a few things for me. The first thing is remember that I love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then until the next time I see you or you see me, don't be average, be world renowned. Take care.